IAMs in the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. It is Monday, June 17. Yes, 2024. I am Her Excellency, Darlene Ondy, and it is my honor and privilege today to welcome you to our second, the Kingdom of Canada Ministers. And we are being hosted again today by Her Excellency Wendy Ann Charlton, Minister of Well. So I wanted to take a moment to now hand this over to Her Excellency Wendy Ann Charlton. Thank you so much for being here, and we are very excited about today.
And thank you very much for being here today with us. So welcome to all who are present today and those joining us live around the Kingdom of Canada and the world. And to the people of the Kingdom of Canada and the VIPs and our ancestors, to our honored and special guests watching online, welcome to the heads of state, the presidents, the prime ministers, the crown princes, the crown princesses, the majesties, kings and queens, and the emperors and empresses, and to all the 7 continents of North and South America, Africa, Asia, Australia, Eurasia, and the Middle East and the Antarctica. Welcome. And to all the ministers on the provincial and city coordinators. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you to the Kingdom of Canada's ministers. And I am your host, and today I will be introducing you to Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry, who is our Deputy Minister of International Trade. Thank you very much for being here today, and I welcome you, and I will let you take over now. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Wendy and Your Excellency Darlene, and grand rising to all the IAMs of the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. For those of you that have missed my oath as Deputy Minister of International Trade as appointed by Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Ditalo, I will read it again. I am Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry, swear by benevolent Grand Master Creator to be loyal to the Kingdom of Canada's nationals, the Kingdom of Canada, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Ditalo, not to divulge any of the state secrets, to maintain its interest and regulations internally and externally, and to perform my duties with honor, honesty, integrity, and sincerity. And as Deputy Minister of International Trade, I will harm not we the people of the Kingdom of Canada, the Kingdom of Canada, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Ditalo, and we the people of the world. Export only a maximum 25% of 100% of all foods, produce farmed in the Kingdom of Canada, and only after the Kingdom's food supply is stockpiled at 110%. Protect the Kingdom of Canada's food farmers and producers, and setting importation at 10% on all foods and produce. Import only AAA quality foods and produce that are 100% organic. All trade contracts must be measured against 2 things. A, is it good for we the people of the Kingdom? And B, is it good for the Kingdom of Canada? If the answer is no to either A or B, sign not the contract. So I want to talk about the royal decrees that pertain to some of the items that I just spoke about as being Deputy Minister of International Trade of the Kingdom of Canada. So the first one is Royal Decree number 61. Maximum 25% exportation restrictions of everything edible, grown, produced, harvested, manufactured, or package, etc. in the Kingdom of Canada. So what does this mean for all the IMs in the Kingdom of Canada? 75% of all foods would stay in the Kingdom of Canada. 70% of the food we consume in Canada is produced within Canada, but over 50% of what we produce is exported. 80% of Canada's fruits and 60% of Canada's vegetables are imported from other countries. Is this why we are having a hard time feeding our own nationals? By keeping 75%, we would be able to feed Canadian nationals and be well on our way to be self-sustainable. The Kingdom of Canada will be stable, will secure food supply, and can build up to 10 years back of food supply. Stockpile will be at 110%. Never again will there be famine in the Kingdom of Canada. Overall, this will also help with reduce the food prices in the Kingdom of Canada. Is it good for we the people of the Kingdom of Canada and the Kingdom? I think yes, it is. So think about how many families and ancestors that have gone grocery shopping and can't afford everything on their list. And this is due to all the prices on the fruits, vegetables, dairy, everything that's good for you. But meanwhile, we can grow our own foods in our own backyard. Question is, why do we have to go to the store to pay for these fruits and vegetables when we can grow it ourselves? Mm-hmm. With Queen Romana's royal decree, we as Canadian nationals will be able to be self-sustainable by keeping 75% of everything edible, grown, produced, harvested, manufactured, and packaged in the Kingdom of Canada. That's the first royal decree.
Very good. Mm-hmm. Very interested in that. Thank you.
So I'm sure you're probably wondering where we're going to keep this stockpile of
yes,
food
I
in
am,
the Kingdom
and I'm
of
sure
Canada.
Our audience is wondering too.
So it's my understanding that Canada is the second largest landmass in the world, and in the US they have 333 million people. Canada only has 40 in the Kingdom, and Canada has 40 million in the Kingdom. So this makes us 1/10 the population of America, and yet we have a larger landmass than the US. So I think we'll be able to stockpile and store food with no problem.
Okay, that's so that would come in with our Minister Christopher Maffenbauer, that is with the food and water. Mm-hmm. And then with the storage, it would come in under the maglev trains we'd be able to transport within a day, and that would be under our suppressed technologies. Exactly. So it's very interesting that we will be able to supply, we the people of the Kingdom of Canada, with all of our own vegetables, fruits, and not worry about what we're importing from other countries unless we want to import.
That's
correct?
Right. That's correct.
I'd also like to add in here, if you don't mind, Excellencies, and I am here on behalf of my ministry, the Ministry of the Kingdom of Canada, Infrastructure and Highways, because the food, the water, everything needs to be transported
yes,
quick, fast, and in a hurry across the Kingdom of Canada. So that is where we will be very much working together to make certain that we the people get the very best on time and on budget.
That's right.
And we're very excited about all the potential, because I believe we the people previous were wondering why we were paying such high prices, and then why we couldn't get a lot of the foods, and why we were eating foods that were not from the Kingdom of Canada when we were abundant in many of the provinces.
That's right.
To grow our own food.
Yes,
and we were restricted to be able to grow our own food in our own backyard, our front lawns, on the boulevards, and in the parks as well.
Would you speak to we the people as well about why that was? Like, what was the overall agenda?
Well, obviously it was to control the food supply, to have it put in the stores so we would pay. So it would then affect the people's pocketbooks and have to pay for it because we are restricted. And I will talk about that in the next royal decree. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So I just wanted to also mention that Your Excellency Darlene, with the highways, we are interested in having those 6-lane highways. So
Yes.
with transportation, 2 lanes, is that correct, for the transportation of foods and goods?
Yes, 2 lanes are dedicated fully to the 18-wheelers that will be transporting the food and the resources that we the people require, also in very rural areas. It will be brought to we the people.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
So that's why I'm excited to talk about the next royal decree. It's 167. All foods, produce, fruits, vegetables, and drinks that are produced, manufactured with and or from GMO seeds are to be clearly labeled with GMO seeds origin non-organic. This applies to domestic or imported foods, produce, fruits, vegetables, and drinks. Imported products that fail to meet these new requirements are to be rejected at sight and banned from entering the Kingdom of Canada. And if it is not labeled in the stores, then the stores must immediately remove them from their shelves. So in the Kingdom of Canada, this means we'll be able to grow 100% organic and import and export 100% organic. Be able to grow our own fruits and vegetables using organic seeds in backyards, balconies, front yards, parks, and boulevards. No more hunger. You can just walk, if you're going for a walk in the park and you're hungry, you can just pick an apple off the tree.
And you don't have to wash off that 1/4 inch of wax that they put on the...
That's correct.
That's right. That's right. We can grow our fruits and vegetables all year long. Did you know that in Canada, we are restricted from growing certain fruits and vegetables, such as lemons, limes, mangoes, and in the winter season, we're prohibited from growing off-season fruits such as peaches and grapes.
But that will all change under the Kingdom of Canada.
Correct.
And we will have the proper fruits and vegetables that will work with our vibration instead of eating GMO foods that do not nourish our body as well as they should.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And this will no longer be an issue in the Kingdom of Canada, as well as we will be keeping 75% here in the Kingdom of Canada. And we also have to think, is this good for we the people of the kingdom? And is it good for the Kingdom of Canada? And this royal decree says, yes, it is. And in the 1950s, I think, Darlene, you were talking earlier of why this was kind of happening, is because in the 50s, they switched predominantly to male trees. And in the parks and the streets and other public space, stating that it was a hazard and a control for cleanup. First of all, male trees don't produce any fruit. Male trees produce pollen, which is why they're increasing the amount of people with allergies. When I was a kid, we had no allergies in school. We didn't have to worry about that.
So I'd like to revisit that comment that you made about planting only male trees. So essentially what the cabal, the globalists, the previous old system was doing was they were creating artificial famine, the creation of artificial famine, because they were not planting feminine trees that could produce the fruit.
The fruit, yeah. And it's all their intent was to make money for the pharmaceutical companies. It was to control the food supply in the stores, where today most fruits and vegetables cost an arm and a leg. But with Queen Romanna's royal decree, we will eliminate the hunger in the Kingdom of Canada and grow and eat only 100% organic.
So if I may interject, I would like you to read that again.
It's pretty powerful,
and let that sink in with we the people.
So in the 50s, they switched from growing female trees to predominantly male trees in the parks and the streets and other public spaces, stating that it was a hazard and that it was a control of cleanup. When in fact, first of all, male trees don't produce any fruit at all. Male trees produce pollen, which increases allergies in the people in the kingdom. And their intent was to make money from the pharmaceuticals with the increasing amount of people developing allergies, as well as to control the food supply in the stores where most of the produce and fresh fruits and vegetables cost an arm and a leg.
So with that, they were just helping us get sicker and sicker and sicker instead of having nourishing foods. And my understanding was that back in the 1950s in California, they had avocado trees that were all over the streets, and the people could just go out and have them. And it's a wonderful, nourishing fat for our body.
Exactly. And one other thing too is when as I got older, I developed allergies. And my doctor told me, oh, that's normal. As you get older and you eat something over and over, you can develop allergies. And then, and I believed, and like I didn't question. And now I question, how can I eat something over and over again and then all of a sudden be allergic to it? So that's something to think about.
Yes,
something to think about.
Yes, something to think about.
So the next royal decree is 138. Immediate halt in the Kingdom of Canada of all the Kingdom of Canada's lumber exports. This includes all quality grade of the Kingdom of Canada's previous lumber export, grade quality number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Homelessness is unlawful in the Kingdom of Canada. And what does this mean for the Kingdom of Canada? All lumber exports will be halted until every Canadian national has their home. The human rights of all Canadian nationals come first and foremost in the Kingdom of Canada. And Canadian nationals have the first right of refusal to all housing, food, services, and all amenities and all privileges thereof as being a Canadian national. In Canada in 1950 again, do you remember what the price of a house was? The average price was $12,000. And today the average price is up to over $200,000. Lumber has more than quadrupled and therefore driving up prices of housing, which drove up the percentage of homelessness. Canada is abundant in forestry. It covers 43% of our nation's landmass area and is home to the most forests in the world. It regenerates about as much forest as it harvests. But in Canada, we've been exporting, in the Kingdom of Canada, we have been exporting 70% of production. And from March 2023 to March 2024, in the Kingdom of Canada, we exported $875 million. And it was all our good quality grade wood. Yet thousands and thousands of people, up to 300,000 people and rising, are homeless on any given night in Canada.
That's an important statistic to read over again. I really feel that we the people need to hear that.
Yes.
Again.
Okay. So from March 2023 to March 2024 in the Kingdom of Canada, we exported $875 million. And it was all our good quality grade wood. Yet thousands upon thousands of people, up to 300,000 people in the Kingdom of Canada and rising, are homeless on any given night in the Kingdom of Canada. But with Queen Romana's royal decree, we are, and Queen Romana says, we are all royalty and we deserve the best of the best. and we will have the best, especially with this royal decree. Exactly.
Because this is the new era
Exactly.
in the Kingdom of Canada.
That's correct. So there will be no more homelessness in the Kingdom of Canada.
So let's just talk how that's going to look for the Canadian nationals. You know how we always talk about it's the dream to have your own home and your own yard. It's just going to be such a wonderful experience for people that have never, ever owned their own home.
That's correct.
And to be able to have their own home at a reasonable price instead of having to work 3 jobs just to have a home.
That's correct.
So,
and I'd like to add, and my apologies for interjecting.
that's okay.
It's important for we the people. This is what Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Didelot brings to we the people. Queen Romana is the guardian and the protector of the Homo sapien species, is that honor, respect, dignity, rights and privileges are returned to the we the people of the Kingdom of Canada. So there is no more, the Kingdom of Canada is no longer the lapdog of any country.
That's correct.
Correct.
And I'll be going through the decree, which we'll be speaking to in some detail, Your Excellency, about how that is going to change here for the we the people. But yes, it's a very important point, and it's abhorrent, these statistics that are, and I'm certain the numbers are higher of what's taking place in the Kingdom of Canada.
That's
previous
correct.
From the old system.
That is, and you hit the nail right on the head there, Darlene, is that everybody in the world thinks that we are the best and we are the country to come and be, and we are, but we have been suppressed. But this won't be anymore. Every Canadian national will have their home. So the next royal decree is Royal Decree 175, the National Economy and Trade. With immediate effect, all oil, gas, and LNG companies owned by we the people of the Kingdom of Canada and hereby authorized and permitted to build processing plants 1 to 5 in each province and territory. We are exporting crude oil just to have it processed and buy it back. Canada imported $488 billion in foreign oil since 1988, when we are a country that is plentiful in oil reserves. We will manufacture our own processing plants, which will create jobs and save on importing costs. Canada will manufacture in the Kingdom of Canada so we can be self-sufficient. And also, Canada is number 1.
The Kingdom of Canada.
The Kingdom of Canada, sorry. We are number 1 with source of talents, skills, intellect, when it comes to oil and gas in the area of engineering. We have the technological skills and talents and would be bringing back we the people's jobs that were lost by changing policies. We the people can also expect to have 100% of their pay and no deductions and no tax deductions.
I'd like to pause right there.
Yes.
Because, and my apologies again, Your
That's
Excellency, it's really important for we the people to hear what Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry just said, that your paycheck is your paycheck. And no longer, there's no taxes.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
And what would that look like for we the people?
Yeah, well, you're basically giving up almost half your paycheck. When I worked, I gave up probably more than just over half I took home. And yet all these deductions were coming off and I never used them. I never knew what they were for. So this will be very exciting for the people in the Kingdom of Canada to keep 100% of their pay.
And so do you think that if you did go to work and you knew that you were keeping 100% of your pay, how enjoyable your job would be? You would go to work because you wanted to go to work.
Exactly.
So I think it's really good for we the people for
and you wouldn't have
the Kingdom of Canada.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to work overtime. Some people have to work 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. this will allow that you don't have to go out and you can spend more time with your family.
Yes, and I would like to add, because this is a very important point, is that we the people will not have to work. You will not have to work. You only get to do what you love. It's the same thing for the
correct.
VIPs of all VIPs. You get to do what you love, your passion. And so if they choose to work, because imagine all these trades finally getting paid the work and knowing that they will get paid for the time in. So there's more joy going, more greater high vibration energy going into the work. So the outcome of that work is more higher vibration. So it's all this acceleration on different levels of energy of what this is going to bring to the entire, not only the Kingdom of Canada, but ultimately the world.
Exactly.
So for myself, it's just so exciting that the family will be the family unit again, where they can spend time together. You can enjoy your children. You can do things with your children. You don't have to work 7 days a week.
Yes.
You can enjoy your children, and the mother can stay home and nurture the children like it was meant to be, instead of the 50s where both parents had to work.
Or the parent that chooses to stay home, because there are some wonderful masculine that are more that want to be they're the more at home, and so whatever is chosen.
Whatever is true. If the masculine wants to stay home, or the feminine, it's wonderful for the children because they get the best of everything.
Yes.
It all depends on what you love, and you do what you love. That's what it'll come to. So the next royal decree is Royal Decree 63, and that is the job creation, the shipping industry, and the megaports. To build the Kingdom of Canada's 3 megaports in Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. Navy ships, coast guards, oil tankers, ferries, and mega cargo ships, larger than the Suez Canal dimensions, for transporting goods, products to Europe and Asia from Canada's northern territories. So right now, it's being controlled to go through the Suez and the Panama Canal, and it slows everything down. QR wants to open up the Arctic, which has been controlled by HARP and the freezing waters, and this will allow the larger ships to come through.
Yes, and Queen Romana referring to Her Royal Majesty, of course.
Yes.
And so, speaking about the Suez Canal, is it controlled so that they can slow down our produce from arriving? So, up to 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And by the time we get it, it's pretty well not as good as it should have been.
Well, it sits there because we're waiting. It's the backup of the ships that are stuck in the canal that we have to wait for. So it's a waiting. So what this means for the Kingdom of Canada is that we have major trading options. It reduces the time that the goods come from Asia to North America continent by about 2 weeks, like you said, Her Excellency. Travel time, making it cheaper for gas, insurance, and labor costs.
So maybe we could just explain to we the people how they control the Suez Canal.
Well, they have closed off the waterway by freezing it through HARP. So they direct us to go through either the Suez or the Panama Canal, which is very narrow, and it only fits a certain ship size. You cannot get large ships through there. So we are controlled by the size of the ship that goes through there, and it is backlogged with ships. So you have to wait, you have to sit and wait. Plus it also has the locks. You got to wait for the locks. It's controlled by the locks.
And so that also affects the financial part of it, where we're paying for that produce to be sitting in that ship for how long? 2 extra weeks?
That's right. And we will also be able to get to choose which country gets to bring their goods into the Kingdom of Canada. And ships will be able to be twice as the size as the ships now, allowing a larger amount of goods and product to reach global destinations to and from the Kingdom of Canada. So that's exciting.
That's exciting. And did you want to speak on the size of the ships?
I'd actually like to speak to the decree that this has to deal with, specifically with the portfolio that I am overseeing as minister.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So this has to do with Royal Decree number 63, and I'm going to read through this, and then I'm going to add to this very important content because this is so extensively important for the Kingdom of Canada, and it's because it creates the ability, and not only the ability, but the Kingdom of Canada will be number one in regards to import and export because of what Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry is speaking to. So Royal Decree number 63 says, job creation number 2, shipping industry and megaports, $1.5 trillion investments in the Kingdom of Canada. Purpose, to build the Kingdom of Canada's 3 megaports in Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, Navy ships, Coast Guard ships, oil tankers, ferries, mega cargo ships, mega ships, larger than Suez Canal dimensions for transporting goods, products to Europe and Asia from Canada's Northern Territories, which we don't hear a lot from the Northern Territories.
No.
As Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry has already spoken to, we are the 2nd largest landmass in the world. And has been underserved because of control. So
if I might say something about that, because I do know about the Northwest Territories, I have worked up there, and it is a huge landmass, and there's hardly any people there. There's just tiny settlements. So it's a huge area to be opened up.
Yes. Well, what's interesting is there's a lot more taking place up there than we the people know. And what is so significant about the work of Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Didelot is this is about accountability and transparency. So we the people are going to see for the very first time the entire Kingdom of Canada, and for the very first time see the work of the ministers and what is taking place. And you know, at the end of, as we bring a close to this, I'll be again referring to the page that we will be having for each minister, that questions and suggestions from the we the people as to what can we enhance, not that we're going to do that. So let me just go through some of the numbers here, because this is very important. I am Queen Romana Didelot of the Kingdom of Canada, Head of State, Commander-in-Chief, President, and Head of Government, hereby issue this Royal Decree effective immediately March 5, 2022, to release investment funds for the following provinces. Prince Edward Island, $150 billion for Prince Edward Island. These again are provinces which have been put to the side and really placed in by the old system in exceptional economic hardship. New Brunswick, $100 billion. Nova Scotia, $100 billion. Newfoundland and Labrador, $100 billion. British Columbia, $200 billion. Quebec, $200 billion. Ontario, $200 billion. Yukon, $150 billion. That's a megaport. Again, Northwest Territories, $150 billion. Megaport. Nunavut, $150 billion. Megaport. And so it is. Peace and prosperity or perish. I don't play politics. And again, this very important Royal Decree from Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Didelot, Head of State and Commander-in-Chief, Head of Government, President and Queen of the Kingdom of Canada, where we go one, we go all. So I want to speak to this because now as the Deputy Minister of International Trade, you have the ability to work with every world economy. And because we will be growing the best, everything is going to be organic. We are going to have these megaports, which are going to allow very large ships to come through. It's going to cut 2 weeks off, as you had mentioned, travel time. So that will cut down on the cost to we the people for what is being imported. And also imagine the people working on these mega ships, the time away from their family, that, you know, it'll cut off 2 weeks that they can now return home, and all the other costs incurred with that 2 weeks that will no longer be there. So there is such a interconnected high vibration wave of energy that's going to come because of these megaports, and the ability for the Kingdom of Canada to be #1 on the international trade. And we say what comes into our country and what does not come into our country. And the very fact that we have the ability now to keep 75% of what we make here. And we're also keeping the resources of we the people, because the talent, the intellect, the knowledge, the wisdom of we the people is here.
That's
all
right.
IAMs.
That's correct.
So thank you very much for
you're welcome.
sharing that.
And we will be the #1 world trade in the Kingdom of Canada with this royal decree. The last royal decree I'm going to speak about is Royal Decree 195, the nullification and cancellation of all treaties and contracts retroactive July 1, 1700. And B, nullification and cancellation of the Indian Act retroactive July 1, 1700. Under natural law, all treaties and contracts previously signed by foreign corporations and their foreign owners who masqueraded as we the people's government are null and void, retroactive July 1, 1700. Treaties that were previously signed, handing over control of the Kingdom of Canada's natural resources, example, water, of we the people of the Kingdom of Canada to another country, has committed treason, economic sabotage, and crimes against humanity. The Natural Resource Treaty, 1964, Columbia River Treaty with the American that obligates BC to direct water from the reservoir across the border, controlling our water dams, our water flow. They claim that they had the water flow first, but that water dam is in the Kingdom of Canada. So how can they control our dam? Contract nullified with Queen Romana's royal decree. I don't know if you want to speak to that royal decree.
Well,
It's pretty powerful.
I would just like to say I do live in that area, so I know exactly what happens with that water. We are just allowed to have the Koocanusa, which is Canada, USA, and the Kootenay River, Koocanusa, and it's a huge resort area. But what they do is they pull the water out on us by the end of July, and you just have a little trickle going down there.
Limited resources.
And they take it down into the Libby Dam into Montana. So I do live in that area, so I've witnessed it myself. So that water should stay in Canada, the Kingdom of Canada.
Yes,
Exactly.
and I'd further like to add, because this was a article that was also spoken to recently on Queen Romana Real Vision News about the kakistocracy that has taken place in Calgary, Alberta, and also what has previously taken place in British Columbia. The Kingdom of Canada has the most water resources in the world.
That's correct.
In the world, we have 3 oceans.
That's correct.
We have over 500 lakes that are over 100 square kilometers. We have over 31,700 lakes and rivers. The most water resources in the world. And the very fact that the old system controlled the water and took away resources when we are so abundant in water alone.
And we buy bottled water.
Exactly. Yep.
And we have all that fresh water for ourselves, but it's been taken up and moved out.
But this is part of the best that will be in the Kingdom of Canada and is in the Kingdom of Canada.
Because the new era is here.
That's right.
Under Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Digital.
That's
and
correct.
Look what she's done for we the people.
Exactly. So just in closing, some other important royal decrees that affect the international trade, and I highly suggest that you go and you take a look at them, is the Royal Decree number 60, which talks about the fishing harvest and of the Kingdom of Canada. And again, 75% of all fishes, prawns, lobsters, crabs, oysters, scallops, and mussels that are harvested in the Kingdom of Canada must remain and be sold to we the people in the Kingdom of Canada. Yes, very exciting. And Royal Decree 62, which is the job creation, $600 billion investment in oil, gas, and liquefied gas in the Kingdom of Canada. And Royal Decree 42, which is the emergency preparation order, so that the food supply chain security in the Kingdom of Canada, US, and Mexico. It ensures that all borders between the Kingdom of Canada, US, and Mexico remain open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And all truckers, truck drivers delivering essential goods and supplies to and from the Kingdom of Canada, US, and Mexico are to be admitted and unhindered. So those are just a few that affect the international trade, and I highly recommend you go and look those royal decrees up.
Yes. I'd like to speak to a couple of points that you mentioned there, Your Excellency. And the one is the 24/7, 365. That's the calendar we're in now. That may change. However, what this is going to do for the long-term economic well-being, because you're going to always have work. There will be zero shortage of work. There will be zero unemployment. There is so much work. There is so much work, and the ability of free flow of movement, of import and export. And imagine, and again, this is going to intertwine in the Ministry of Education, of course, but again, back to the family. And you spoke of food. Everybody loves talking about food because we all have our favorites. But imagine, and you don't have to imagine because it is here, the very fact that children, the VIPs of all VIPs of the Kingdom of Canada, for the very first time will get to experience exotic food that will be readily available. And again, what that is going to do in regards to learning culture and about other ways of being and how to plant the fruit. And I remember not too long ago going into a store, a grocery store, where there was young adults being trained, and the individual training them was going, this is a tomato. And coming from a farming background, I was appalled. But we the people, there are many that don't know where our food sources come from. And the fact that now the VIPs and there's many adults that get to learn about where to find the best food, how to grow it, how to nurture it, how to care for it. And you had mentioned about the surplus, keeping a backup for the Kingdom of Canada, we the people, all I am, so that there is never a shortage, because there's zero poverty in the Kingdom of Canada. That is so exceptionally massive.
Exactly.
It is massive.
And to be able to have it in your own yard, you know, on the streets, will end hunger. And this is just part of the best in the Kingdom of Canada.
Yes. Well, I appreciate the visual of, you know, when we're driving, if you don't want to be in your flying vehicle, that will be, of course, sentient, that you can be at a light, if that's the system that we have, that instead of looking at someone begging for food or money at the lights, that you can pull a plum or a peach or a fruit from and have a little snack while you're waiting there, and hand that to your children. And you know, just such a, it's a new way, and it's always the way it should have been.
Exactly. That's correct.
So there was one thing I wanted to speak to you about, because I have personal experience with family members that had come from the Maritimes, and they came from fishing families where everything was curtailed and they couldn't make a living anymore. So they all came out to British Columbia and Alberta to work at the mines. But the longing to be home was overwhelming, but they had to stay in order to sustain their family back there. So this means that you're going to be able to do what you love to do. If you want to fish, you'll be able to fish
and keep it.
And it's exciting, and I love it.
And not pay, you know, an arm and a leg is the terminology, and we will find something higher vibration than that. However, you know, let's use lobster as an example. I'm not saying that everyone loves lobster, but the ability to have lobster every day, if you want. And again, with the suppressed technologies of the replicator, again, the elimination, you can have whatever you want. But the very fact that you are able now, all the provinces, and let's talk about the Maritimes.
Yes.
They were educated and taught, and of course the cabal, the globalists, the elitists, placed those provinces into such exceptional poverty where they only planted potatoes. You know, they had the farming industry, and then they had fishing, which were seasonal. And yet what was hidden from them was all the diamond mines, all the natural resources that are there. So abundant in each and every province. And so that we, the people, can now go back and again maximize, and because we are wealthy beyond.
They did that too with the weather manipulation, that we can't grow fruits and vegetables all year round.
Yes.
And this way we can end the restriction on the greenhousing. If you want to live somewhere where it's colder, you can grow your foods in a greenhouse and there's no restrictions.
Yes. So again, this is going to be so great for we the people, because they're going to want to stay and flourish here in the Kingdom of Canada. It'll bring all our talent and our resources back to the Kingdom of Canada. And there's no taxes in the Kingdom of Canada. So we, you know, we will be able to have, again, the best of the best. And this comes back again to Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry, Deputy of International Trade, where the negotiation ability with other countries, because we will have the absolute best. And imagine what that will do in regards to if another country wants to maximize on what we have the ability to really be the leader of all that. And so just such an important role that Her Excellency Gail Mcgarry has.
Well, I'm really excited about the family unit becoming the family unit again, with
That's correct.
being able to have everything that is available here in the Kingdom of Canada.
That's right.
Yes. And I don't know if there was anything further that you had to speak to in regards to your portfolio.
No, I just suggest that you have a look at the royal decrees and get excited, and prepare. The new era is here.
Very exciting. Very exciting. So would you like to speak to anything else?
Yes, I have a couple of comments that I'd like to make. And again, I wanted to thank, of course, our host, Her Excellency Wendy, and yourself, Excellency Gail Mcgarry, for taking the time out of your very busy schedules. I know how hard both of you work. All of the team works so hard. And of course, Her Royal Majesty continues to work 24/7 for all IMs of the Kingdom of Canada. But this is about the three words that Queen Romana spoke about: the actionable, accountable, and measurable of our portfolios. We are here for we the people, for all IMs. We are accountable, and you will see action and you will see the change. The change is here. So again, the reminder to all IMs that we will have the website, thekingdomofcanada.ca. There will be a page for every ministry, so that suggestions from we the people, all IMs, can be placed there. And not saying that we will take your suggestion, and we're not saying we're not going to take the suggestion. Of course, it will be taken into account, because the only way that we can improve what we're doing is we go to where we go. That is why Her Royal Majesty has been traveling across the Kingdom of Canada, back and forth, 3 times, I believe, and that to see what has taken place from the old system in the Kingdom of Canada.
And to see how massive it really is.
That's true.
It really is. So we welcome your suggestions. And until those websites are updated for each ministry, those suggestions can be made on the Q&A channel that Her Royal Majesty has created. There's over 500 channels Her Royal Majesty has created on Telegram. It's incredible. So go to the Q&A page and place those suggestions there. And so again, next Monday, I know you've had things all set up for your next ministry.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And we are working on weekly presentations, but I'd love to thank you for being here today and your input on your ministry. And I'd like to thank all of we the people for taking the time to sit and listen to us. I hope that everything that we've talked about is sparking an interest, and we'll be seeing you again next week. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So here's to peace, prosperity, and
and
love
love.
in the Kingdom of Canada. We send you so much love. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Excellencies, so much.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.